Yeah, I got it. All right. Hi, everyone. I know it's a little different environment today. I am with Joe and the rest of the CGCookie crew at CGCookie headquarters in Geneva, Illinois. The rest of the crew is in the back, but today we are going to be doing a granny bus. I have a sketch from Kent. He wanted me to do this kind of animated character profile shot so that he can do a 3D course. I believe it's sculpting on how to create a sculpt that is almost a Xerox of the drawing. So we're gonna do our best to create the best little animated granny that we can. I'm gonna use a lot of influence from Pixar's Up, Carl. I grabbed a bunch of references. We got a color palette already going. So hopefully today will be a fun one. And as we usually start these streams, Joe just went to the bathroom really quick, but if you want to put where you're watching from, we always like to see where everyone is watching from. So it's kind of fun. And yeah, it should be a good one. I think eventually the crew is going to come out and say hello. I know we have some other visitors coming around in like a half hour or so. So I think halfway through we'll do a quick hi. And yeah, then we'll do our announcements after. We can just get going and do it. But yeah, put where you're watching from, and then we'll do the quick shout outs. Oh, I guess the one thing we can do before the shout outs though, each of the crew members at Cookie, when we started the retreat this week, we were given these surprises. And if you guys are interested in sculpting, Lisa, who is the sculptor for Sculpt Cookie, designed and sculpted, casted and molded and sent over little bakers. And we each got our own little statue of Baker. Mine's currently in the back. I sprayed it with gold spray paint, but it's not really working right now because I didn't prime it first. Lesson learned. So yeah. All right. So Joe, if you want to say where everyone's watching from.
Microphone over here. This is droopy. Okay, so I've been informed that everyone's going to be making dance comments because they found a video of you online of you dancing. So, it's a Harlem Shake video.
Oh, with all my cousins and whatnot?
Yeah. Sam says, hello from Belgium. Just recently joined CGCookie and having lots of fun. Dungus on the forums. Welcome to CGCookie, and hopefully you're going to enjoy everything that goes on here. Self says, you're too cute, Tim, really. J Mill says, I can barely hear Joe. Here. What I should do is I should just move my monitor over.
Oh yeah,
if I can even do that. Rickard says hi from Sweden.
Yeah, move there. Yeah, let's keep this. All right. Microphone's still working. Hello, testing. Still really quiet. Bonjour from France, you. Chicho says hi from the land of happiness, dreams, and the inventions of contraceptive pill. I know Belgium did that. The more you know. Beatrice says hello from the other side. Syndronic says hi, I'm from California and I can't wait to watch the design. This is going to be fun. Nerdy says, oh my God, Tim, I love your hat. Faith Newman says, we can't hear Joe. I need to get really close to the microphone, don't I? Can I turn the mic? There we go. Is it shotgun in my direct? Yeah, there we go. Hello from Saudi Arabia. I think this live stream is going to be my favorite for some reason. Hello from South Carolina. I hope Granny Bust isn't what I think it is. Sorry, you're going to hear some ambulance drive by. We're right next to a downtown area.
Yep.
They said that you just use the headphone with the mic.
Headphone with mic.
Yeah, Kent said you had a headphone with the mic. Let me find mine.
Oh, I have my Razer. I have my headset, but I don't know how good the microphone is.
Well, it's probably good enough. But I think better than a onboard mic on your computer. That's just not really weird echo. Not where my headphones went. You look so official.
Wait, huh?
So you think that will work though?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna work better than like a monitor mic or camera mic. So,
All right, thank you. Hey, you want to say hi to everyone really quick? Everyone, this is Jonathan Williamson. If you watch any of the Blender cookie tutorials,
hi guys.
they're in a deep discussion in the back though, so we don't want to keep them. All right, well, while we're waiting, if you're just joining in now, we are going to be doing a grandma animated character profile bust. It should be a pretty fun one. This is going to be one of those where I can just render for the entire video. So if you have any questions that are pertaining to like why I'm shading a particular area or like why I'm adding contrast on the edge of the ear, under the nose, please feel free to ask. This is something I feel like I've done 100 times before, so I will probably move a little faster than I should be moving for a live stream, but whenever you guys want me to slow down, just let me know.
I need to know if there's a echo. Yeah. You guys let us. Ooh, that's really loud. Turn that
I'll
down.
turn my volume super low.
Yeah.
Actually, I could mute myself. I don't need to hear you on my computer.
Yeah, but then they won't hear you.
Yeah, but I mean like right now, I muted my volume.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We need to know if you guys are hearing an echo or not. So say something. Anybody? Faith Newman says, Joe, we can't see your pretty face or hear you. Oh, here, let me click over. Like, hi. Oh, hey. Super bright over here. Oh, there's no echo. Till says there's no echo.
All right, perfect. Then let's go ahead and get started. We've already ran a little late. There's been a lot going on. I'll kind of show you guys what has been happening at the CGCookie studio. It's really, really exciting and what we're going to be planning for this next year. But I'm just going to jump right into it so that we don't waste any more time. All right. So this is the sketch that Kent created for me. And pretty much what I'm going to do is create, it won't be a very like a 2D look. I'm trying to create the most 3D render possible in Photoshop. So I already have this color palette set to the side here. Those were just color picked from my reference sheet. Pretty much it just includes a lot of different shots of Carl from Up. And then I have a few color references and the grandma from Mulan. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just let my intuition take over on something like this, because sometimes, or at least almost for every stream I do, I talk about how methodical it is, and usually there's like steps to it. But I think with something like this, I want to have more fun and show you how a lot of the times I would approach, oops, not that layer, subject matter such as this. So if I was handed this, sometimes I would start it a little differently than having like a solid foundation of just a flat color first. Sometimes my foundation would be of color. So it all kind of depends on, I guess, how I'm feeling during that moment when I received the assignment. And in this moment, I'm feeling really ambitious to just kind of throw down color. And I do want to create more of an underskin first. So I want a very, very flush red and pink base coat first, because then when I paint the skin over it, a lot of it will get covered up, but having the hint of it underneath I think will help. And this one might be one where I would be, I guess I won't be talking as much. I would be more answering your guys' questions. So if there's something that comes up, not only on what I'm painting, but if you guys have questions about anything digital art related or in the digital art realm, or if you even have a funny question, I think this would be the perfect stream for something like that.
All right, our first question is from IamNet. Says, are you talking to a shotgun, Joe? No.
Oh man, we had a lot of hellos. Want me to read off a couple more?
Oh yeah.
Since we had some technical difficulties. Chris Wong says, "Hey, from Ohio." Ohio, Chris. Delica says, "Amazing statue." Hey, from Norway. Zara says, "Hello from Canada." Rebecca says, "Washington State." Happy face. Daniel Peterson says, "Hi from Australia. Looking forward to watching this." Mura says, "Hello from MA." Henry says, "Hello from New York." Another Elioratu says, "Hello from Ohio." Dino says, "Hello from Portland, Oregon." Let's see. Alyssa says, "Hello from the UK." Tobias says, "Hello from Finland. Nice catching the stream." We have a lot of people from out of state watching today. Ari says, "Hello from Costa Rica." Also, Jensen couldn't make it in time, so he will be here later watching the stream from UK. Jacob says, "Hey from Lithuania, just turned on my PC to say hey, turning it off and going to bed to watch the stream later because it won't let me write in Google Hangout from my phone for some reason. Good luck, guys. P.S. Joe, just call me Jacob if it's easier." Will do, Jake. And Valerie says, "Hi from Switzerland." All right. Do we have a question of the day today? What's your favorite animated film? Is that too easy?
I kind of like that. If I had to answer that,
Yeah, what's your favorite
I
animated
almost feel like I have to say Spirited Away. Not only just from the film aspect, but what an impact it had on me growing up. Because I saw that when I was, I think, 10. And up until that point, my limited range of what I thought animated movies were just Disney and Don Bluth films, which I still like. But Spirited Away kind of gave me the idea that it doesn't have to fit into a classic story tale. It could be something very foreign and strange, bizarre, and there isn't really a villain. And there's so much that it introduced me to. I feel like it'd be wrong if I said any other movie had such an impact on me, and that's, I think, why it's my favorite.
Favorite animated film? 3D animated, I had to say The Incredibles. That's probably my number one. I've seen that movie so many times. Because I went on vacation to Florida once, and that was the only movie we brought along. So I just kept watching that and then behind the scenes over and over again. And there's too many 2D animated things that I absolutely love to be like, oh, this one's my favorite, you know? What is your favorite candy solely based on what it looks like? From I Am Not.
Oh man, I would say all those classic antique candies that you would see at like a grandma's house. The ones that are the swirls in like that lace pattern. I always thought those were very intriguing.
They're granny candies.
Yeah. Ribbon candy, I think that's what they're called. And then lollipops I've always found intriguing. Anything that has a very strange and bizarre look to them, I think are cool. But in terms of taste, they're far from the top.
I would have to say turtles. Turtles are probably my favorite looking candy because they look like turtles and they're caramel and chocolate. I mean, can't really go wrong when it looks like that and it tastes amazing. Faith Newman says, "I want to be a video game splash artist, but I only think Riot Games hires splash artists, but I'm not sure. Do you guys know anything about being a splash artist or video game illustrator and how to get started?"
Yeah, actually, one of my classmates that I went to school with, he works at Riot now, but he doesn't do the splash screens. He actually is just a legit concept artist. So don't feel like Riot's only limited to the splash artists, because someone's got to come up with the designs of the character. So there's plenty of actual concept jobs there as well. But For you to be a splash screen illustrator, it definitely requires a lot of skill and quality into creating those. It definitely dabbles more into the illustrator realm than it does a concept artist. So if that's like your dream job, then I would definitely really practice on creating dynamics in your shading and understanding lighting like to a T. I feel like the reason those splash screens are so impressive is because their understanding of light really shines through on them, and that's where the impressive quality usually comes through, along with having such a dynamic pose and whatever else might be in the scene.
I was going to say, do a lot of studying of, well, I mean, you probably already do study the right splash screens, but also take into consideration their level of rendering, how far they take something, and as well as composition. I think that's probably one of the more important things that they have to keep in mind when they're doing those is how dynamic and they can get their figure while keeping the character still looking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Torrid Vincent says, my favorite animated film is The Secret of Nim. I think there are so many good films to pick from, though.
There are a lot. I think each, like, it's hard to say like best animated film, because then I think of like, well, technically I could think of a more impressive film, but like a storytelling, I could think of a more impressive film than my favorite. But I always like to hear like what is people's personal favorite animated film, because I think that says a lot about them. Not only animated, but any film in particular.
Ari Phillips asks, quick Candy Knight question. Is it okay that the knight is kind of prince, queen, king type, like a king in a knight costume, or does it have to be specifically a knight?
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, we have a contest going on right now on the community side of CGCookie, and you could win some sweet loot. And the theme is a peppermint knight, like a candy cane. And we're leaving it a little open to interpretation. So if you wanted it to be a king in a knight's outfit, it's definitely okay. I would say it would make more sense to have it follow more of the general guideline of a peppermint knight. But you know, at the same time, I'm like, nah, if he wants to go that route, let him do it. And I really do encourage letting your creativity kind of come out on this one. Oof. Okay. All right, so now on this grandma, I feel like I have a decent enough base where I can start drawing over the line art. And this is where I seem to get a lot of messages about how this freaks people out. So I'm going to take you through on how to do it. And it's pretty much you make a new layer above the line art layer, and then you draw over. And that's it. That's all it takes. I think sometimes that fear of losing your line art, but if you're careful with it and you approach it with that understanding that it's going to still have that same edging to it, and you're separating the forms, but now you're doing it with color rather than with a line.
Till asks, is the white background a conscious decision this time? Is it better if you are creating something for 3D?
Good question. To be honest, I was given this from Kent, and he gave me some tips and suggestions on the side. And I think to really emphasize the value of the character, I wanted to do it on a white background instead of a neutral gray. As much as I love working on neutral gray first, for whatever reason, I seem to work faster on a white background, especially with something like this, because then I can always just pick up the white background and use it to edge out the character. And so no, I don't think this was a conscious decision on my part. It just kind of, I'm letting my intuition draw on this one.
Nerdy Beauty asks, it seems every time I zoom into detail the artwork, the image gets kind of pixelated, and I can get some, and can sometimes C. Spacing of the brushstrokes. How can I choose the right resolution for canvas in Photoshop?
Definitely make sure that you're working. Well, if you are going to be working at such a small scale where you're zooming in a lot, make sure that your resolution is high enough. A typical way that I would generally say is 300 DPI and work at like at minimum 8.5 by 11. So even if you're doing, well, yeah, anything above 8.5, I think is a pretty good at a 300 resolution. Because if you're zooming in and you're still seeing pixels, that means you're zooming in way too much, especially if you're at a 300 DPI. Oh, and if you hear a man in the background speaking, that is our boss man, Wes Burke. He'll come say hi, I'm assuming at some point on the stream.
Henry Lib asks, what brush are you using?
Oh, this is my kind of standard go-to brush. It's a chalk brush. So if you push down lightly, you kind of create this textured feel. But then if you do a backtrack and you paint over it, and you don't want it to be black, you can kind of fill in those blanks. But then if you just want it to be dark and solid, you just push down hard. And this is one of those brushes that I have, I guess, become so comfortable with that I barely have to think about when I'm resizing my brush or what I need to do with it to create the effect that I want. It's autopilot at that point.
Tobias Hansen asks, shouldn't this have already started? I think
Yeah, we were 5 minutes late. We had, as you probably noticed, we had some microphone troubles.
Eamon asks, is it better to render on a dark background specifically for 3D renderings?
It depends on your subject matter and how you're lighting it. If it's a very dimly lit subject matter, I guess I could see either way on that one either. It definitely comes down to preference, but I think a neutral gray is always the safe ground to work with.
Gamer and Artist 2 asks, what would be your soundtrack when you draw, or best depicts your state of mind when you draw?
I guess the best adjective I can think of is floaty. A lot of the music I really, really like is just very floaty. The words usually don't make sense on the indie songs that I really like, or it's just very repetitive. It's like drawn out, and I can just listen to it on repeat for hours upon hours upon hours. So I guess for an example, my favorite band is Sigur Rós. So literally, I could just listen to an album by them all day, not realize what song I'm even listening to, but be in that state of mind of just focused on what I'm working on.
Max Level says, yay, made it to my first stream. Welcome to your first stream, Max.
Welcome.
Barry Phillips says, to answer the question, Treasure Planet, I will love it forever.
Oh, yes. That and Beauty and the Beast are my favorite Disney movies.
I'm sifting through all of these. A lot of them are still hellos.
Oh.
Till says, your guys' office looks amazing. I'm jealous.
It's pretty swanky. Admittedly, though, it's always pretty cold. That's why I'm wearing the hat.
Favorite animated film? I'm going to have to say between Totoro and Iron Giant from New Day Beauty.
Oh, good answers.
I don't think I've ever seen the Iron Giant.
Oh, that one's so good.
And I've never seen Totoro.
Totoro's fun. Very, very simple.
Till says, it's so hard to pick. Growing up, my favorite was Anastasia. That kind of changed when I discovered Spirited Away. But I would have to say my favorite is Treasure Planet. I discovered it very late in my life, but I can't stop watching it over and over again.
It's quite wonderful. It still bothers me that Disney considers it almost a failure just because of commercially it didn't do as well. I think artistically they really hit a home run with that one. So really quick, this might be a good little place to show what I'm doing rather than just do it. For the eyes, I painted on a light background or a light base first, and then pretty much I'm painting in the iris part of it. But since the iris part is a bit more convex compared to the outer bubble of the eye, if you like look at a side view of an eye, there's actually like a contact bubble on top of the iris, and you can think of the iris as more flat. So then if our, let's say our light source is kind of overhead and coming slightly from the front as well, and the light source would land more on the bottom of the iris, while the upper half would be more in shadow. So you can create that effect. And before I put in the pupil, let me round off the rest of the eye here. I think I'm going to keep some of that black line art near the lid of the eye just to represent her eyelash line. And then we'll go ahead and add in the pupil. While I'm trying not to zoom in. One of the goals of this live stream is I'm not going to zoom in and do small detail work. So I want to show you guys that you can definitely detail something like this without having to zoom in.
Question is, if you were a boss, what would your boss battle music be?
If I was a boss, what would my boss battle music be? You know, I kind of would like it if it was just silent. If I was a boss and it almost is like the tension of just you against him and there is no distracting sound, it's just silence.
So the last boss of Smash,
Was that how it was?
it like you fight like 3 forms, and then like the last form is just this ball that it just wants to be destroyed, and it's just super silent.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's what I would want.
It's really creepy. I would probably want the Storm Eagle or Armored Armadillo music from Mega Man X. Lotus Petals says, hello, Lotus Petals here. This is my first time making it out to a live stream, and I'm kind of freaking out. Please don't freak out too much.
Now, really quickly, to give our eye some pop, I'm just going to place a little highlight near the top. You can see how that really gives the eye more depth than without. And that's why you typically want to save your highlights for last. So build a really great foundation and then place the highlight on top.
Till asks, if you're painting something that you are going to pass on to a 3D artist, what things do you do differently than a regular painting? Do you paint it more as if it's actually 3D already?
I think it depends on the 3D artist you're working with. Some artists will be more interpretive with it, but just as a general rule, try to keep it as direct and easy to read as possible. So even if you're doing a really large creature or a concept that does take a little bit more complexity to it, I would try to render it out in a manner that really speaks to what all the forms are, why they're there, and how they connect to the creature, whatever it is you're working on. But yeah, typically don't try to do anything crazy. Don't have weird poses or things that are more of a distraction when you're trying to almost help the 3D artist understand how to model it.
Yeah, if anything, don't you usually do I mean, there's two different ways. There's this way, and then there's T-posing things, where you have just the front and the side view.
Yeah.
Right?
Because even that, it should not be dynamic in any way.
Which is generally what I would say a majority of businesses use is the T-pose.
Mm-hmm.
It's a better read. Maxwell asks, do you guys remember the first time you sold a piece of your art? How did you feel?
To be honest, I think I was really young, and you know when your family just kind of buys it from you. So I guess I don't remember the very first one, but I think the first digital piece that I sold that wasn't fan art, I totally remember. And I remember thinking, why? I guess was my first question that came to my mind. And then after that, I think it was just very, very much gratitude that it just makes it feel everything worth it, I guess is the best way to explain it.
The first time I sold a piece of art was on through DeviantArt. Somebody asked if they could buy one of my prints that I had done traditionally, and I uploaded it digitally. And they were from Switzerland. And I was like, that's weird. And I remember people being like, you're someone, and that's what's even weirder is that someone across the world liked your piece of art and then bought it. And I was like, that is kind of weird. But it really didn't faze me too much, I don't think. And then when I started selling prints, it was another thing of just like, oh, I enjoy this. So, and we sit and talk about what the print was of for a little bit, But I don't think I was ever like, oh my God, Nintendo 64 level of excitement, I'm like screaming. Jake Scott asks, what OC do you draw the most?
What?
OC? Original character.
Do I draw the most?
Yeah. Red.
I would say if you've known me in the last 2 or 3 years, it's Red. But if you've known me my whole life, it's definitely Tim. And that's the farmer boy. And I think Red just became like an accident. Or like she wasn't even in my story until 2 years ago. But I kind of fell in love with drawing her because I love the color red. Just became very apparent in my life that was a color I love using. So I love drawing her hair, so I would just draw her all the time. So probably Red nowadays would be, the OC I draw the most.
Till says, is anyone else watching WreckIt Ralph a lot lately to be in the mood for the contest?
That's cute. I hope you guys are. I like WreckIt Ralph a lot. I really am disappointed that they didn't make Sugar Rush into a video game. So I don't play many video games, but that one I would have played and I would have probably loved. So I felt like that was a fault on Disney for not making that.
Evie says, hi from Germany. I have homemade vegetable chips. Let's go. Happy face. How do you make homemade vegetable chips? You just dry out vegetables?
I think you like slice like a cucumber or something and then you put it in the oven.
Kathy Brown asks, is it hard to color something cartoony realistically? Do you always have to simplify?
No, I would actually say it's easier, to be honest, because all the the shapes are simplified. So when you're drawing something realistically, if you know how to like shade a sphere, you can shade this part of the cheek or the eyeball. Or if you know how to shade a rounded square, you know how to shade the top of the head. So it does become very shapular when you're doing something like this. So I actually think it's a lot easier. For me, this is actually super enjoyable because I barely have to think about technical questions, and I can really just let my hand go, and it already knows what it needs to do, where it needs to create. So these are more fun. And if you've never done something like this, give it a try. You might surprise yourself with how much fun these are to paint. This is another one. I probably should have provided you guys with just the base if you wanted to follow along or do your own interpretation. I'll remember that for the next time we do something like this.
Lotus Nevermore says she's starting to look a little bit like the old woman from Fox and the Hound. Immediate sadness.
Oh. I like that movie. Well, it was weird. I thought you were going to say, because I thought it started looking like Granny from Tweety and Sylvester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, God. Did I just like subconsciously do that?
Ooh. Oh, that was the wrong one, but it moved. That's okay. What is the best way to network yourself as an artist and gain more connections?
The very best is one, getting your art out there and really focusing on improving the quality of your artwork, I would say is the best. And don't be afraid to market yourself. So really think of yourself as a brand. Hold on. Hi. We're doing a live stream. We have another visitor to the studio. It's our wonderful accountant, Pat. She's great. Oh, and another one. Being at the studio, as I tried to preface earlier, yeah, we're going to get some background noise and you'll hear people walking or talking. It's because we're at the studio for the week. We'll talk after.
Lotus Petals asks, how do you come up with good names for your characters? By the way, I like your character's name, Red.
Yeah, I really went into the creative pool with that one, didn't I? I think Red is actually, I'm sure all of you have heard some kind of a friend or a friend of a friend who nickname is just Red. And it's usually because they have red hair. And for me, I guess whenever someone was called Red and they had a ginger hair, for me it was always orange. So when I created Red, I wanted her hair to be like scarlet red. And it's like this unusual color that I'm trying to make it work in the story where that it's normal in swordplay to grow this very rich red color. And then the other names are literally just names that have been in my life and I wanted to carry through into the book. And then the name Tim is something that I joked about with everyone in the college I went to, about how everyone makes the main character about them in some way, whether they want to admit it or not. I definitely think their characters, well, I feel like most characters are a reflection of who they are, the artists themselves. So with Tim, I was trying to make it kind of a funny thing where I'm not even going to try to hide it that this character is like me in a lot of ways, where this character is going to literally be named Tim. But yeah, I guess that's how the characters are named.
Oh, Loki asks, I'm at a stage where I'm frustrated. I can range what I draw, humans, animals, cars, landscapes. Everything I do feels like it's not finished. I'm drawing constantly and I feel like I've hit a brick wall with an improvement. I don't know what stage is next.
Okay, if you feel like everything you do isn't finished, there's probably a finishing quality that you're missing. And it could be the way you're rendering it, the way you're lighting it, or just the polish. So maybe I would isolate an area, like even if it was an ear, like let's say it was on this grandma that we're drawing, I would focus on how can I push this further? And then once you think you push as far as you can go, take a break from it. And then the next week be like, now how can I push this further? And if you keep doing that, and it doesn't have to be like an ear, it could be even like it's just a face or something. But I want you guys, or you specifically, to look at what you're drawing and push yourself to see it in a constructive, critical way. And if you're able to do that, then you will be able to see flaws with it. And then the next goal is to become a problem solver and figure out how can I enhance this or how can I fix this? Because I feel like a lot of great concept artists are just really good at problem solving. So once you kind of pick up that ability, I think doing digital art just becomes this whole process of figuring out what the problem is, and then taking the steps to fix it. It's kind of like if right now I don't feel like I'm very strong with landscapes. I know that's a problem, so I'm already aware that that's a problem, and then I need to take the steps to fix it and then actually execute it. So I need to be watching tutorials online, and I need to go through that whole process, and it's going to be work, but I have to do it if I want to get better. There's no excuses.
And it says, slice them 1/8 inch thick, cover lightly in olive oil, and bake at about 250 Fahrenheit until dry and slightly crunchy and browned equals homemade veggie chips. I gotta write that down. Faith Newman asks, how do you know the difference between finishing a piece or over-rendering it?
I don't. I think that's why a lot of my stuff kind of borders on that quality of being finished or over-rendered. You just have to be honest with yourself and really look at it. And if you are at the point where you feel like it's going to be finished, that you almost need a second opinion. Get some other eyes on it and ask them their opinion, because they might help you see what it could use to be considered finished. And then when you take those steps, then maybe you can move on to the next piece. Because I don't think it's good to harbor on to every piece that you ever do and you never finish anything because you're so worried about it having the finished quality. And I think it's always going to be a learning process throughout. So don't harbor on never finishing anything. You know what? I'm going to make these swirls more like swirls. I hope Kent doesn't mind.
Carol Jaws says, I'm currently on an art block due to making a lot of studies and very little original work. I can draw, but I can't come out with anything creative. Do you have any tips/challenges to get out of this?
This is a perfect one for Joe.
I mean, the simple answer is just for me to be like, hey, push yourself to use your imagination. If you feel like you're making a lot of studies, but you're not, do you have any tips or challenges to get out of this? I'm trying to think of what you can do is you can come up with a story, really, really simple story. Don't get too complex with it. And then try to draw something from that world, or just take 3 random things and put them together. Like if you're trying to draw something from your imagination of like a creature, take like a tiger or make a sphinx. You know what I mean? Like things that aren't necessarily real, and then try to imagine them. It's obviously difficult. If it were easy, then everyone would be able to do it. But I think what needs to happen is you need to start drawing original stuff and stop relying on studies. It's something that I'm doing as well, where I love doing studies and I can do studies all day, but I really want to be able to illustrate my stuff creatively out of my imagination. It's going to take time, and you're going to get frustrated because you're sitting there drawing and being like, my hand isn't doing what I want it to do, and then that's when you just gotta like take a breather, relax a bit, maybe walk away for a good 15 minutes and then come back to it. Yeah. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
Not at all. That was good.
Beatrice DT says, Tim, dance for the viewers, please.
I
didn't realize it was that kind of stream.
That was a past career choice that I will not revisit again.
Faith Newman asks, how do you know when your portfolio is ready to show to try to get a job? I worded that so bad.
How do you know? If you're ready to be in the workforce and you kind of build up your portfolio and you take a look at it and it's the best work that you've done up to that point, and you can stand by it, then that's when you know your portfolio is ready. But there are so many tips that I would want to give. I almost feel like I did a presentation at a college a year and a half ago, and I wrote up this whole list of what I look for in a portfolio. I think there were 9 tips, and I think I should just share that publicly, because I think a lot of those tips are still relevant and could help you guys kind of figure out your portfolio if you're looking to do that. But as an example, one of the tips were to start with your best piece and end with your best piece. Well, your 2 best pieces should be at the very beginning and at the very end. You want to have a very strong first impression, and you want to leave them with a lasting impression. And the other big one for me is I will critique and judge your body of work based on your weakest piece, what I consider to be your weakest piece in your portfolio. And that's because in my mind, you see that piece strong enough to be included alongside the other pieces. So I'm going to judge it as if that was just as strong as the other. And that's where your visual eye is currently.
What if somebody explains to you that, like, that's their like first piece that they started actually trying on or like putting effort into, and it's like to show their progress?
I don't know. For a professional portfolio, I wouldn't include it. Maybe if you went to the interview, it could be cool to see the entire progression. I feel like if I was interested in you as a candidate, I would take the time to like research your background, and then I would like go to your DA or whatever it might be and like look at the progress that you've made over time. But I think to include the weak ones is to show the progression. I'm assuming there's progression. So I guess you could. Maybe that personally I wouldn't want to see that, but I guess it would show how far you've come in a short amount of time if like you didn't even touch digital work about a year ago. Because then that shows how much you've progressed as an artist, and that alone is very impressive.
Mur asks, do you have any idea what a company like Riot/Blizzard is looking for in a concept artist? What kind of samples? I've looked online, but I cannot find good examples.
This is a great question because I was told the answer, because I kind of had a similar question when I was curious about possibly working for Riot. The answer was they want to see people that are like extremely passionate and driven. And I remember I was even told that it doesn't matter what your level of skill is. They base it a lot of your personality and how much potential they think you have, because they believe they can teach anyone their art style. It just depends on if that person is willing to put in the time and effort and learn and really grow as an artist. And sometimes that can come across very strongly when you meet someone, or even through emails. Even though it might not seem like it, you can read a lot and tell a lot about a person in the way that they handle their emails. Even like not getting back to a professional or a job that you're wanting, if you don't respond within like 24, 48 hours, that definitely says a lot about you being irresponsible in some way. And just from personal experience and my own boss having to scold me a few times, it definitely pays to respond sooner than later. They would rather you respond with a short answer than to have a response, 4 days later with a longer answer.
That, and I would look at concepts done by professionals. I don't think that I think it's kind of crazy to be like, oh, well, that's the level I need to hit before I can apply.
Yeah,
that's a bit insane. But that's definitely something, like, if you want to work at Riot, then you look at Riot's concept designs and you study them, and if that's what you want to do, then that's what you got to study. The same thing with Blizzard. Like, if you're drawing, I'm trying to think of, like, if you're drawing like steampunk and Blizzard isn't hiring anything for a steampunk project, you're more likely if you're going to be doing like the super, more cartoony fantasy stuff, where you're drawing orcs and you're drawing elves and you're drawing space marines. Like that's kind of what Blizzard is known for. So you should probably be drawing those things.
Like show them like you're interested in the subject matter that they're creating.
That's like Mr. Jack. He just drew like swarm concepts, or is that what they're called? The swarm? Yeah. But he did a lot of those concept designs, and then Blizzard saw him and were like, these are awesome, and then they hired him. Max Level asks, have you ever experienced a bad negative critique or portfolio review?
Oh yeah. Most of it's justified, but I remember one in particular that just did not like. They said my stuff looked like Final Fantasy, and they were not into it. I remember specifically being like, "All right, okay, cool." No other feedback besides that, but usually, I don't feel like I've received a negative or bad critique because I try to view every critique, even if I don't agree with it, constructively, and that took me a while to learn. But once you kind of see it as they're trying to help you, or they're seeing something that they actually think looks incorrect. And if you're able to kind of swallow your pride and be like, if I really thought about it, yeah, this does kind of look strange. Because every now and then, like you might get a portfolio, not maybe a portfolio route, but even my mom said something about one of my pieces, who, mind you, has like zero experience in the art world, and was telling people when I first got my job at CGCookie, I was doing Shrek. So like just no clue. But she would say to me on one of my pieces, like the head looks a little bigger than it should compared to the body. And I remember looking at her initially being like, what? Like what? Like you don't study art, like you don't know anything. And then I'd look back at the piece and I was like, oh my God, she's right. I got to the point where I was looking at it for so long that I was blinded to my proportion that I used. So even from, well, and I guess those are more positive experiences. And I only had that one kind of really negative one. But really try to view any critique you get and bite your tongue. Don't get defensive. I think that's one of the worst things an artist can do. Just take the review, even if you don't agree with it, take a mental note of it, and then try to look at the piece as someone that isn't so attached to the work because you created as the artist. And I think you'll see how that will actually improve your art, because a lot of times they are right. There is something that is a little off because we don't create perfect pieces every single time. So, yeah.
Yeah, another thing that you can do, I've mentioned this previously, was have a notepad when you're getting a critique on something, or write it down. Even if it's in writing, copy what they wrote down. You want to write it down so that way your immediate response isn't like you don't want to just like lash out and be defensive. If you're getting a critique, write down what they're saying so that way, at least when you write it down, it's like, okay, I'm writing this note to myself, and there's kind of it's like a buffer. You're not just immediately feeling impacted. Then that's especially if you just take critique kind of poorly. But that's what I would recommend doing is writing it down yourself, and then looking at the critique, and then making the adjustments from there, being like, okay, what's this person saying, and is what they're saying correct? And so that way it kind of moves the blast away from the radius,
And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but wouldn't you agree that that's one of the worst traits an artist can have, is when they get defensive about their work without really listening to your critique?
Oh yeah, because if you do that in a portfolio review, you're not getting hired.
Yeah, I guess
immediately.
That's a really great way to say it.
Immediately, if you're super defensive and you're just like, I know everything, it's just like,
it looks really bad.
You don't want to work with somebody like that, because then it's like, okay, well, you're always right. So if you're always right, then I'm always wrong, and that's never the case. There's people always have a better, not better perspective. They always have a different perspective, and a different perspective is always something that you want. It may not be the correct vision you want, but you should always take a look at the way other people are looking at things.
Yep.
I am not has a good question. It says, let's say you've built a bit of a following making one kind of fan art, or fan art in general. and you move on to personal stuff, do you owe your fans anything as an artist? You're not getting paid by the fans in this scenario.
Man, this could have a whole discussion on it, and I think it's a good one. If you did build up your following based upon a certain subject matter that you've kind of became known for, you don't owe anyone in terms of art. Like, it's up to you on what you want to draw, and if you kind of lose interest in whatever that subject matter that got you popular was, then I would never slam the artist for moving on or trying something new. I could see a lot of people, though, getting upset and being like, why aren't you, like, this is why I followed you, now you're doing this other thing. And the only thing you can say to them is, well, then just unfollow. Like, I feel like I've found a new direction that I want to take, and I'm going to keep following this one. And if you don't like the new art that I'm creating, well, that's fine. Go follow the people that are still drawing that kind of stuff. And you'll see that those kind of people will just kind of fall out organically. And then the people that are into your new stuff will start following. And you don't really have to worry about it. There's no reason to worry about if your fans are happy in terms of the stuff that you're creating. I would say you should keep them in mind for respect, because that's what we're trying to all do as artists, create stuff that relates to someone else that you've never met just through an image or just through a story. And I think there's some connection there, but yeah, I don't think you need to be worried about if you change directions, what they're going to think.
I think I was watching an Anthony Jones stream the other day, and he was talking about just like, do what makes you happy. At the end of the day, that's what matters. You don't want to sit there and be like, oh, I died drawing fan art. Like, I would say just do, if you like drawing fan art, that's awesome. If it makes you happy, that's even better. If you want to do personal stuff, then do that. And you might lose followers, but that's okay, because it's kind of like I found CT Chrysler through his Korra stuff, through his Korra animations, but I actually love him now for all of his anime stuff. Like, that's kind of taken over, but I mean, I found him through a fan art thing, and then like it grew from that into something that he does regularly now that I love even more, which I think is really awesome. I
think doing fan art is a great way to get noticed. And as much as I don't really do fan art anymore, I definitely got a lot of attention when I started doing like League of Legends stuff. And as long as I feel like as long as you're passionate about what you're drawing and you're really into it, people will respond to that. And if you share the same interests of your audience, then I think if you switch directions, I still think they'll be on board, because they probably have a similar interest in what you're creating that is original. And at least that's the hope. And if they really just want fan art, that's okay. Then they'll find other artists that just do fan art. You just don't be hurt when they leave, I guess is the best way to say it.
Oh man, there's two good questions. I'm going to select Faith, or I'm going to read Faith's first, because it has to do with something that we already talked about. And it says, I want to be a game illustrator, not a concept artist, and I'm not sure what that job exactly entails, because there isn't much information online about video game illustrators, only concept art, at least from what I've found, although I do love concept art. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of them, do they freelance those people first? They like what's it called? Legend of Cryptids? Legend of
Cryptids.
Yeah, they freelance all of those artists.
I think it's all freelanced.
Yeah, it's like Magic the Gathering. They hire freelancers to come in and do, because they enjoy how they paint.
Yeah, illustrating, I think, is probably less in demand than concept artists. Well, that's a tough one. Actually, I would say it's about split.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you could illustrate for movie posters, you could illustrate for books, you can illustrate for many things.
I think it's just knowing where to find it. So, like, yeah, if you want to become an illustrator, I think, well, one, you do have to really work on your rendering skills. So I think as an illustrator, that's kind of the key requirement. And especially if you really want to make it as an illustrator and you want to be on the Magic the Gathering cards, all of their rendering styles are like on point. And even me personally, I would love to eventually be on a Magic card. And I would understand that also means there's a lot of work and requirement and build up, and you don't just get that handed to you. You really have to work towards it. So if you want to be an illustrator, start making illustrations. I think the best way to do something that you want to do that is so specific like illustrations, you have to start creating them beforehand, because then you go through the struggles of learning what works, what doesn't work, before you really start putting yourself out there into the industry. Because then once you have like a pretty set quality behind you in everything that you do, I think finding the jobs becomes a little easier, because then they can see your body of work when you send them a portfolio. And then it becomes very easy for them to be like, yeah, this person fits our style, or no, we're looking for something a little different for what we're doing.
Really quick question. Vang asks, do you guys think you get CT Chrysler on the stream?
I could ask him. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I know for sure we want to do more guest live streams this year. I kind of miss doing them, and I would like to bring some of them back on board. It will probably be during the summer. If I had to give like an honest time frame, it would probably be in the summer.
Sam asks, because Belgium doesn't have many game studios, I had to go freelance. Because being a freelancer without much experience is pretty hard, though. Any tips on freelancing in general?
It is tough. I have 2 roommates, soon to be 3, that kind of are just full-time freelancers. And I feel like I've been able to live vicariously through them on what it would be like to be a freelancer. And it seems the hardest part is just getting started, finding the initial work. But once you kind of find, and I feel like they had to sift through a lot, but once they were able to filter out the ones that were just kind of asking for free art, or the ones that were saying that you'd get exposure, or any of those traps, I feel like one of my roommates especially has found a steady, consistent freelance job. It's not full-time, but it has the feel of it being full-time, because then when she's done with one thing, she's already being asked to do another. So it is really tough. And the one thing that I talked to her about why she thinks she's been able to get out of that money struggle every month is she's persistent. And not only persistence, but I think she has a tenacity that she doesn't mind being told no or being rejected, because then she just moves on to the next. She looks at different sites every day of what job postings there are and jumps on them, and will send an email right away. And that kind of, it's like a competitiveness that she has in her to get those jobs. And I think to be a freelancer, you do kind of have to be more aggressive with the way that you handle getting the jobs. You want to be very much on top of looking for a new job and then sending an email as soon as you see it. And having that kind of mentality is something that I think is good to have as a freelancer.
This next question is actually kind of the same answer. It says, I just started a YouTube channel wanting to teach kids about art and commercial art. Any suggestions on growing my channel? And I'd have to say that the number one thing that you can do is be consistent. As Tim said, like that's so, and especially like with internet and things like that, like you have to be, even though you're unknown, you have to be known to the people that watch you already, and then they'll spread the word. The other thing is social networking. Like you kind of need to have a mastermind of social networking as well. So that way, because things now can just be spread so easily. But the problem with that is that things need to be sifted through. But if you have word of mouth via social networking, your channel can grow. It's just, if you have the content, if the content quality is good as well, then it'll be successful. But you need to be, one, consistent, have quality content, as well as marketing, being able to market. I think
consistency would be the one word I would really stick out to.
Yeah.
and make sure you follow it. So like if you set up like every Wednesday I'm going to put out a new tutorial or something, make sure you follow that, because then as soon as you start to break that, or then it becomes like Thursday or you skip 2 weeks or something, then you kind of lose your I don't want to say integrity, or your reputation becomes a little tarnished. You're not reputable. You aren't. You're distinguished now for not being reliable, and you don't want that. You don't want that attached to your what you've created.
I'm not sure if we're able to disclose the information, but this is from Nerdy Beauty. It says, do you guys have any idea when you'll be moving these streams to Twitch?
Oh, actually, I forgot to tell you guys of how much development has happened since then. It looks like we'll actually be able, well, I shouldn't say this for sure, but most likely we're going to be switching over to hosting them on CGCookie.com. So no longer do you have to like search through either the community or wait for us to post it on DA or Tumblr or Facebook. It'll be right on our CGCookie page. Now that's still in development. Things are subject to change, but I feel like that's right now, that's the word on what will be happening. But as always, I mean, we'll keep you guys updated. And if there was ever a switch, like if we ever did switch platforms, we would give you guys weeks in advance notice. Because even if like we were to move to Twitch and then we were ready to, we wouldn't just do it next week. We'd be like, we have 3 weeks out. Like, this is week 1. Just a reminder, we're going to be moving, you know, that kind of a transition.
Estee asks, how many hours per day do you spend drawing? Just drawing, not painting.
Not as many as I should be, is the short of it. I would say now that I have this little moleskin journal that I got from one of my friends, it's the idea that you have to draw every day. So I do draw every day, and typically minimum of a half hour, I would say. But that can vary depending on where I'm at. So like this week I'm with CGCookie on the retreat, and we're doing things at night. We're going out. We're just super busy. Even like last night we had a really late discussion on stuff. So it depends on the situation. But I at least try to draw every day, even if it's just for a little bit.
Damo-chan says, hi, I'm so frustrated. It's been 3 months without a job. I think I have a good portfolio. The only thing is that I ask if I can work at home so I can have my eye on my kid. And I tried to contact some magazines too, but no response whatsoever. And I don't want to be. I don't think this has a second part to it though.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's tough because like I can't speak for the company head of why he wants everyone in-house, but speaking in just a personal experience with CGCookie, I feel like it can be done working remotely. I think it does become easy to fall into working in like a silo, and you kind of do your own thing. You don't know what's going on with the rest of the team. Like that I feel like that's a growing pain of working remotely, and the team has to learn how to overcome that. But at least having like weekly checkups help. But in your case, how do you find a job where you can work remotely? That is extremely tough, because then I would just suggest trying to become a freelancer at that point. I think the move to have more people working remotely will happen eventually, but I think it won't happen soon. I think once it becomes kind of seen that, oh, okay, companies can work at home and still be efficient and effective, then you might start to see more transitioning to that format. I just don't see it happening soon.
Oh, I found the last half of it. It says, hold on. I want to get a good point where I can read from both questions. Ask if I can work from home so I can have an eye on my kid. I try to contact some magazines too, but no response whatsoever, and I don't want to be too cheap when I have something. I'm so frustrated at the moment. So my guess is that they're talking about they don't want to, you know, be too cheap of an artist because they need to pay for things, you know?
Like, so they're trying to get out of the situation, but not work for cheap?
I'm not sure. I think I think that they're just looking for jobs.
Oh, then yeah, it's tough. It's definitely doable though. Like especially with living with two people that do freelance full time, I see it work, and it's not just something that's like you hear it said all the time. Like, oh yeah, like you can become a freelancer, but it's really tough. Like I'm actually seeing it happen, and it is working. But I am also seeing the struggle of how much they really have to invest in just finding jobs. So it is time consuming, but it's definitely doable.
Oh man, so many questions. Do you have any tips on confidence building tips, or do you have any confidence building tips for drawing and sharing work?
Just do it. Just imagine I was like standing behind you and being like, why aren't you doing it? Just post it. Just do it. Just post it. You almost need, for whatever reason, you need someone else to just push that door open or push you through the door. It's like the door is already open, but for some reason, a lot of artists are afraid to step in. And just taking that first step is a huge first step, because then it becomes easy to walk. Once you're walking, then you can learn how to jog. And then from there, you can learn how to run. And then all these analogies probably are kind of strange. But the idea for drawing and sharing work and like not feeling you're good enough or your work, no one will like it, you can't let that worry you. That'll only bring you down, because then you'll be so focused on that when it could be focused on what you're going to draw next. It could be focused on things that actually do matter. So just post it. Don't double think it. Don't overthink it, and just keep moving. And those are the artists that I feel do the best, are the ones that just keep going, and they'll post what they work on, and they'll try to improve. And even if they know it could be better, they're going to move on to a new piece because they're ready to try out what they've learned.
Oh, that's a good question in regards to critique. It's from Anna. It says, what about explaining why you chose the design elements you did when your art is questioned, not necessarily in a critique manner, but in a I don't understand this and it doesn't fit manner? Is it still considered defensive?
Oh, that's tough. I think that definitely can border on being defensive, but like, good example. I've been told a lot that all of my work looks like Justin Bieber, or it more so before than now. But I can understand that there's a lot of people that hate the look, the aesthetic of that. But that's how I drew it, and I stand by it. So I'm not gonna get defensive. You just nod your head and you take the critique, but you focus on the critiques that they have that are constructive on the technical levels. I mean, yeah, you can listen to maybe why they don't want to see something a particular way. I've been told a lot too that I don't draw enough overweight people or people that are elderly, which is kind of ironic because I'm doing that right now. But when I received that feedback, it definitely plants a seed in the back of my head of like, oh, maybe I should eventually do it. But then the other part of me is like, well, then am I just doing it to appease someone else? And art should be more of a personal level. And if I'm doing it for someone else, I'm just doing it because they wanted to see it. And I think there's definitely a gray area of doing it for other people or doing it for yourself. At that same time, though, you should challenge yourself with subject matters that you haven't explored before. So eventually, I feel like I probably will. But is that exactly what I want to do right now? No, I'm going to keep, doing my swordplay stuff.
Oh, there's a really good question. Where did it go? Just Help says, your characters don't look like Justin Bieber, Tim. They look like baby dolls to me.
They look like what?
Baby dolls.
Baby dolls. Oh, I like that better. Like porcelain dolls.
Oh, Kathy Brown wants to know, how do you make a character look old and add wrinkles, etc.?
And have what?
How do you make a character look old and add wrinkles?
Oh, and add wrinkles.
Or like things like that along those nature.
Oh, okay, yeah. To make a character look old, I think wrinkles are the easiest way. Usually, rounder faces present a more childlike appearance, so giving them more of a defined jaw will make them older. And then if you wanted to make them older from that point, then you would focus on adding subtle details like a forehead wrinkle and just have it be slight, or the smile wrinkles on the side of the mouth corners. And you just look at like what is the natural progression of age and skin, and add those elements depending on how old you want to make your character. All right, I think I got to add these glasses back. I forgot that she had some.
She's got perfect 20/20 vision at the age of 500.
She's like, I can see without them.
She walks into a tree.
Where were those glasses? All right, sorry, you can go.
Dino asks, I've only done original art and gotten a pretty good amount of followers, but I wanted to start selling my art. Should I start making more fan art?
No. If you were able to create a following based on your original art, that's like unheard of. That's such a joy to have. And if you have a following just based on your fan art or based on your original work, why not just make prints of your original work and keep doing original stuff? Then you don't have to worry about any fears that a lot of us artists have about like, will I get in trouble? Like, will someone catch me at a convention and I have to go through like legal battles? 99 times out of 100, that will never happen. But just even avoiding that 1% chance is something that I guess that is what you'll be able to do because it's all original. And plus, I feel more joy when I'm able to sell an original piece more so than a fan piece. And if you start selling your original work, I bet you'll feel how crazy that is, and you'll keep wanting to do that rather than create art that someone would buy just because they like that IP or that character.
Vang W's asks, hi, I'm having trouble with painting over my sketches. I just cannot commit to it. Once I finish the sketch, I just don't feel the motivation to keep on going anymore.
I think this is a great one for you again.
What?
I think this is a great one for you.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this, and I was thinking, okay, so so is your end goal that you want to paint over your sketches? Because if it is your end goal, then you need to commit to it. I understand the struggle of being like, oh, well, here's a sketch, and I want to render it out, but then I'm like, I get to a certain point where I just don't care, and I want to move on to the next thing because I've spent too much time on this thing, and it's hard to motivate through something like that. But if you really want it, you have to work toward it. You have to grind it out. And I mean, it sucks and it's not fun, but not everything's gonna be that way. You can make it that way. You can try to convince yourself that, hey, it's fun, but that's something that you have to do internally, and it's going to be a struggle, but you have to do it if that's what you want to achieve. If you're just doing sketches of concepts and stuff, then you can be the first process of a line. Say if you have, like, if I were to draw something, sketch it out as a concept and have a design behind it and then give it to Tim to render out, that's usually what happens in industries anyway. But if you're still trying, like if you want to get that level where you can concept, design, and then render, then you have to push that forward, and it's just going to take a while to get the hang of it. Then just don't get discouraged. And I know what it's like, especially when it's like, well, I just can't finish this. And it's like, well, why? What's wrong with it? Well, then you have to ask yourself, why? What's wrong with it? Go on the community, post up on the community, and be like, what do you guys think about me trying to finish this render out? And do you guys have any tips for me to do this? And then people do that. They go on there, and I've seen a lot of people give out their opinion on something and take it in and study from it. I think that's huge. Man, my answers are always long-winded. I'm sorry.
that was good.
Gamer and Artist 2 asks, what university did you graduate from? Is university even necessary to be professional artists anymore?
Great question. I think we get asked this every week. And when it comes to going to an art school versus not going to an art school, there are some benefits that an art school has, but I think you can teach yourself anything you want and be able to learn from it online. I don't think there is anyone that would tell you there is something that they were able to learn that you couldn't find online now, especially nowadays in the modern world where like even YouTube and DeviantArt are great for learning tools. And then you have sites like not only CGCookie, but CGMA and Nomen and all these online art educators that really have some knowledge behind them and what they're teaching. So what would the benefits of an art school be? It could just be networking. Sometimes being around like-minded people is fun, and you're able to create like a friendly competition because then you're able to see what they're able to do and you learn from them. And I think that was the biggest benefit I personally had from going to art school. And those friends were able to help me stay motivated, and I was able to, learn new techniques even from them. I remember a lot of the stuff that I use now, I learned from someone just showing me that the tool was even available. Like one of my friends taught me masking. A different friend taught me what an overlay layer does. Another friend showed me why flipping an image is so important. So that aspect, you don't really get that online nearly as much as you do when it's just in person right there. But is it worth the cost? I can't honestly say it was justified. But for me, I did enjoy the time I spent at art school.
Do you want to do your quick look over? It's about 3.
Oh yeah. So I guess on this painting, if I was to, you know what? Can I just really quick do that shirt color?
Yeah. Everyone's saying that it looks like Jane from Tarzan, like an old version of Jane.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, this could be old Jane. I'm fine with that.
People are actually asking about the people in the background.
Oh, that's what we should do. Okay, entertain them for just 1 second.
All right, I have a joke for you all. There once was a monkey, and then he fell out of a tree. That's the joke. I'll be here every Thursday. Well, technically every Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh, the rounds of laughter over here.
Yeah, everyone's like cracking up. I can hear them.
All right, let me look for one more question while the crew will be coming over. Yeah, get everyone really quick.
All right, Matthew. Joe, why don't you say hi to Livestream?
Hi.
All right, everyone, we're gonna kind of end it here. I will continue working on the grandma probably throughout tonight, and then I'll post the final results later. But if you wanted to see it again, kind of the stages that we went through, let me see where the original sketch was. All right, so that was the original. I kind of erased through some of it. That was our base, and we painted on top, and we just kept building it up. I actually removed the glasses because it was easier to draw over, and then we just keep rendering it out. And you can tell there's areas that are still unfinished, but we'll take a look on that later. All right, everyone, let me stop sharing my screen and share the camera.
Let me say
All right, so and the baby. Oh, this is like a photo moment.
I know. Is this going to be a group photo? You're going to take?
Yeah, I'm going to take a group photo. So everyone kind of wait. Everyone get really close and pile in.
Where's David?
And the baby.
David.
Oh, and David.
What are we doing?
Group photo.
Right now with Tim and
I'll try to get down.
everybody. He's cooking, and we're going to take a team photo real quick.
Yeah, so while everyone's getting ready, everyone, this is the CGCookie Crew.
Hello. Thanks for listening and watching.
I'm sure people are talking, but they're probably newer. This is the CGCookie Crew, and we're going to do a quick photo. So, okay, everyone ready?
Silly face?
Who do we have?
Happy face?
Yeah.
Pretend like we're happy here?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I don't know if that works. Oh, that's working. I forgot. My thing's on mute. Okay. All right, then one more serious.
What's a serious face?
Oh, I didn't do 1, 2, 3. That's fine.
No.
All right. All right. Thank you, crew.
All right.
Okay, everyone. So that is the CGCookie Crew. There's a lot going on. Wes, would I be able to do just a quick glance over there, or no?
No.
No? Okay. I can't share what we're working on yet, but I promise you we have something big
Be soon.
in the works.
Come to sculpt.
No. Okay, so before we head out, just a few announcements. The first one is we have that contest going on right now. I would check it out. 2, we have our exercise 42 out. It's on perspective, and that is Joe's first one that he's running. So if you want to kind of challenge yourself with perspective, I would check that out. All right, the last one is something that we were talking about earlier this morning and will go out in the next few months. It's a Kickstarter for kind of a CGCookie box that would be for sculpting purposes. So if you are curious about maybe starting sculpting, or maybe you are a sculptor and you want more of the essential tools, we're essentially creating, I'm able to show this, so I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be more on board with this as it rolls out. So this is essentially the some mock of what it would be. It'd just be a box that you would receive. So you'd buy the box, and inside would be the essential sculpting tools. So you'd get your clay. I wish I had all of this out beforehand. You'd get a bunch of sculpting tools. There was a lot of research done on like what tools for sure you need as a sculptor. This one specifically, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but it's the really like tough metal that you have to bend, and this creates the base for your standing characters. And you bring it all over. You get your base. You get fake little eyes, the smaller sculpting tools, a thinner string, and brushes, and there's a lot more. And essentially, it is like the basic. I forgot the specific term we were calling it. It is the sculpting starter box, and we have a description of like all the things that would be included. And I believe it'll be out in the next couple months. And each box, if you would want to buy it, would be, I'm pretty sure it was less than 50. I'm pretty sure it was 40. No, I think it was 50.
It might have been just straight 50. I don't
I think
know.
it was straight 50.
No 50. No 50. No promises.
Yeah, so this is something I got really excited about. I didn't even know this was for sure happening until earlier this morning, because last year I tried to get more into sculpting and I just didn't know what to buy. So I was going to different craft stores, and I think I ended up spending like $120, $130, and I only used probably 40% of it. So this box will not only be the starter kit for learning to sculpt, but then there will be tutorials that are specifically meant from this box. So like if you got this box, you've got all the tools you need to do some of the tutorials that I believe Lisa will most likely doing, who kind of runs the sculpt side of CGCookie. So yeah, it's been a really fun retreat. So much going on. You guys didn't see the baker in the beginning. Here he is, a little Academy Award version of CGCookie. And thank you guys for coming as always. It's really fun that we've still been doing them after all these years, and you guys are coming and asking these great questions. And hopefully we'll see you next week. I know we have probably more that we need to discuss right now, so we got to go. And thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Joe, final remarks?
I love you all. Okay, bye.
That works. All right. Thank you guys.
Bye. Wait.
You cut it yet?
No.
Okay, I never chose my last question. Because now I feel bad. It's like, ugh. Do you want to dance, Joe? Joe is a professional ballerina. On point every time. Okay, last question is.
I thought that was a question.
Oh, sure. I'm fine with that. If you guys are fine with that. Okay. See you guys next week, hopefully. Bye.